r/Askreddit.
Cash App giveaways weekly, nightly, and ever so rightly. Like, subscribe, and comment to enter.
Like, subscribe.
What's a deeply unsettling fact?
Reddit.
The entire universe outside our galaxy could have completely disappeared over 20,000 years ago, and we still wouldn't know it yet. Our view of the universe is actually what it looked like anywhere from thousands of billions of years ago, with no way to see what it actually looks like right now. Imagine if you looked out from your front window and saw your yard as it was 6 months ago, neighbor's house across the street a year ago, and houses a block or two away as they were several years ago. Also off in the distance, you see the glaciers from the last ice age. That's what it's like looking out at the universe.
Reddit.
The 1961 atomic bombing accident of North Carolina. The US Air Force came dramatically close to detonating an atom bomb over North Carolina that would have been 260 times more powerful than the device that devastated Hiroshima. 2 Mark 39 hydrogen bombs were accidentally dropped over Goldsboro, North Carolina on the 23rd of January 1961. The bombs fell to Earth after a B-52 bomber broke up in mid-air, and one of the devices behaved precisely as a nuclear weapon was designed to behave in warfare. Its parachute opened, its trigger mechanisms engaged, and only one low-voltage switch prevented untold carnage. Of the 4 safety mechanisms designed to prevent unintended detonation, 3 failed to operate properly. When the bomb hit the ground, a firing signal was sent to the nuclear core of the device, and it was only that final, highly vulnerable switch that averted calamity. I get goosebumps every time I read about it. That's some spooky shit. If that had happened, I wouldn't exist.
Reddit.
One day someone will mention you for the last time. Then no one will mention you again. No one will remember you. They say you died twice. One time when you stopped breathing, and a second time a bit later on when someone says your name for the last time. Shrek probably.
Reddit.
Every day, one person takes the biggest in the world and doesn't even know it.
Reddit.
In 1983, the world came closest to a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the United States. Back then, Russia's nuclear early warning system reported that a missile had been launched from the United States, followed by up to 5 more. Stanislav Petrov, the duty officer at the command center at that time, was tasked with observing the satellite early warning network and notifying his superiors of any impending nuclear missile attack against the Soviet Union. If notification was received from the early warning systems that inbound missiles had been detected, the Soviet Union's strategy was an immediate and compulsory nuclear counterattack against the United States. Petrov dismissed the warning as a false alarm. He deduced that a first-strike nuclear attack by the United States was likely to involve hundreds of simultaneous missile launches in order to disable any Soviet means of a counterattack. His suspicion was confirmed with no missiles arrived at the proposed time of impact. Later, it was determined that the false alarms were caused by a rare alignment of sunlight on high-altitude collides and the satellite's Molniya orbits, an error later corrected by cross-referencing a geostationary satellite. So the only reason why civilization as we know it didn't cease to exist in 1983 was the level-headed behavior of a single man. What a top lad!
Reddit.
Resistance to antibiotics is growing at such an alarming rate that they risk losing effectiveness entirely, meaning medical procedures such as cesarean sections, joint replacements, and chemotherapy could soon become too dangerous to perform. Unless urgent action is taken, drug-resistant infections will kill 10 million people a year by 2050. More than cancer kills currently. The report's authors warn, which is why I suck the manky moistness out of my kitchen sponge. Immune system level up.
Reddit.
You can think about moving your hand, and it won't move. But when you want to move your hand, it just moves. You can even want to move it, yet not move it. To move it, you must will it, which is somehow different.
Reddit.
Brain aneurysms can happen whenever, wherever. This happened to a friend of mine in college. He was on the phone with his girlfriend. Told her he had a headache and was going to bed. He never woke up. According to a recent Fortwangent study, your kitchen sponge is as clean as turd. If you are a certain distance from a nuclear explosion, you won't be killed immediately, but instead, you'll get third-degree burns throughout your entire body. This kills your nerves so fast that it's completely painless.
Reddit.
For those of you with children, you only have 1,000 weekends with them before they are adults. Well, that makes it sound much more manageable. We are alive at what the overwhelmingly vast majority of the universe will know as the extremely distant past, 13 billion years into something that could very well make a trillion years look like the blink of an eye. If the universe was a download, it would be another 80 billion years before we get to 1% of the amount of time it takes a very small star to go through its hydrogen. Yup, you and I are alive at the beginning. Not the middle, not the end. We are the bacteria.
There are a huge amount of illnesses that aren't curable or even treatable. We have this idea that we go to the doctor, they find out what's wrong with us, and then they fix us. There are many illnesses that make doctors throw up their hands because they don't even know what is causing us to be unwell. And people are often ill for years, or life.
I feel so bad for people that go to the doctor because something is wrong and the doctor cannot figure it out. I saw my mother go through this for years and she kept being told since they couldn't figure it out what was wrong with her, obviously she was the problem and she was just crazy. After years of doing her own research and insisting on going and getting tested, she did finally get diagnosis, but then she got the, well, if a hypochondriac looks long enough, then they'll finally find something wrong. Treatment for everyone. Having an illness isn't easy. To diagnose or cure is bad enough, but people will really treat you like for having the issue in the first place.
This is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my first year of medical school. All the symptoms, tests, drugs, and the therapies we learn are really for the rare times when someone has a problem and there is an actual identifiable cause that can be fixed. Other times there are weird non-specific symptoms, musculoskeletal pains, gastrointestinal disturbances, sleep problems, weird-ish like feeling you are choking randomly when you're trying to eat food, never feeling like you have properly emptied your bladder, feeling like you have sand in your eyes forever. Sorry, doesn't appear anything physically wrong with you. Try Advil and exercise.
I'm always disturbed by the idea that when I get older, if I do, I'll watch my friends and family pass away, or they'll watch me. I want to be the cute couple that dies of old age a few minutes or hours apart, so my husband and I don't have to suffer the loss. My great-grandma went through that. She lost her parents, her siblings, her first husband, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. All her friends died when they were in their 80s. She made new friends. They died too. 2 months before she passed, her sister, who was her best friend, died too. She was in the early stages of dementia, and by then, and thankfully, kept forgetting that she died. Every time she realized, she'd cry for hours. Kept telling us she was the last link to her parents. God bless her niece who would take her calls and tells her mom out at the shop. It was incredibly painful, but such a kindness for my grandma. Now she's with her family and my great-grandpa, and I know how happy she is.
Hospitals in America sometimes charge over $30 for a dose of ibuprofen.
As a non-American, I really have to ask how that is possible. Why not just get it at the pharmacy? Why can't we make such a price difference? I don't get it.
Insurance demands a deep discount before it pays out, so they have to compensate in their pricing before the insurance because the deep discount and thus overcharge. The whole system is completely stupid.
That if you have clothes in your wardrobe and food in your fridge, you're in the richest 20% of people in the world. Something so simple would categorize you above 80% of people in the world. Right now, there are tiny little bugs living on your face, munching on your dead skin. If you don't have kids, you will break an unbroken line of children that have gone on for tens of millions of years. As an only child, this is weird to think about.
Once I said hi to my neighbor and she replied with like, hi, and she walked 50 meters further and got hit by a car. You never know how random and to how random people your last words will be. I wouldn't want my last words to be, add me some mayonnaise to that, darling. But then you're gonna be that weird guy who when someone says hello to you, you'll always respond in an overly profound way. Hey, Jim. There's no rules to life, but I'm glad I lived it my way. Okay, Jim. Statistically, someone who reads this thread will die in the next couple of days. Will it be you?
Without proper soil tests and foundation depths, your house is at risk of moving and cracking. Good thing I hope you able to afford a house. There is a fungus that releases spores that allows the spore to control ants. It then proceeds to make the ant kill itself.
When you die, hearing is the last sense to go.
Are you sure about that? Have we tried robbing food on dying people's tongues?
I test schools' water for lead. Millions of children across the United States, many people here included, are being exposed to absurdly high levels of lead. This leads to behavior problems, lower IQ, hyperactivity, slowed growth, hearing problems, and anemia. If not for yourself, for the sake of your children, please use filters at home. After you die, everyone else's life just carries on. Your doctors and nurses, for example, will go home that evening to their partners/children, have dinner, maybe a beer, glass of wine, enjoy a TV show, and go to bed, and you'll be dead. As a nurse, I find this super weird. I'm actually only a student and somehow haven't had a patient die whilst I'm on yet, but even when I talk to people who palliative care, this crosses my mind as or so last people they talk to. Makes me feel both privileged and terrified about my role.
I wouldn't call it deeply unsettling, but I'm disturbed by the fact that I only get a small amount of time to do stuff. I think it's worthwhile and figure out how this ant farm we live in works, but every day I have to lie down and step outside existence for 6 to 8 hours. The world keeps going. I keep getting older, and yes, my brain is still processing things while I sleep. But I feel that it is a massive waste of time. If I don't sleep, then my mental and physical health start to decline. The process of falling asleep and waking up also disturbs the project or train of thought that was underway during the day, requiring even more time to get back on track. Meanwhile, dolphins are out there staying up 24/7, which is why they're way smarter than us and will be leaving the planet first.
Cash App giveaways weekly, nightly, and ever so rightly. Like, subscribe, and comment to enter.
The frog is pleased. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more.
Like.